Okay. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. I am driving the Z today, so it's going to be somewhat of a loud background. That's why I don't. If you see me not doing streams for a couple of days, it's probably because I'm driving the Z. On the and the background is loud as hell, and I know you guys can maybe barely hear me, and I just like to kind of, you know, enjoy the car and enjoy driving it. But okay, so that's my little intro for today, and so childhood rejection trauma and its effects. Um, I'm gonna probably dedicate a special video to this one video Khadijah did recently, and I think she's done a couple of videos on desirability. But this one that she did most recently a few days ago, I want to dedicate a video reviewing that video. But it sparked this video. As many of you heard before, Mr. Z doesn't. I would argue that much of what black women and girls are complaining about, particularly black women, obviously, right, um, is not what a man did to them as an adult. I'm not saying that we don't go through bad breakups as adults. I'm not saying that there's no trauma there. I'm not saying that there aren't men, what we call the pookies in the black manosphere, that are driving women's cars and bringing it back with no gas in it, right? Like Mr. Z isn't saying that that definitely exists. So there's no point in denying that. What I would argue is that much of what women, what fuels their anger and resentment towards a lot of black men is pre-adult, how they feel about their when they were young, their youthful experiences, right? Being rejected or being undesirable or feeling unseen. And hopefully, can you guys hear me well? Let me know in the comments. Um, Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Yeah, feeling unseen, feeling undesirable as children, right? Now, I'm going to go through a couple of names of people that have said this in one way or another over the past few years on their channels, right? So you have O Stefco, and these are people that mention either middle school or high school or imply it or suggest it, but pretty much say it, right? So you have O Stefco, you have Kim Foster, Kim from Fort Harriet. Um, Demas and Thought has a video reviewing her saying as much, saying that she went to prom with a white guy when she was in high school because the black boys weren't checking. So there's Kim Foster. You have Real Talk with Yanni. You have Khadijah. You have who else? I'm missing like two or three more people that have pretty sizable platforms, but have mentioned or implied that you have the young lady that chills with Herbert online, that me and BGS spoke to. I think she's in her mid 40s or whatnot. Um, who also spoke about it. It goes back to when I was 15 years old, right? And those were her words verbatim. So this is a woman in her 40s, mind you. Now, why does all of this matter, Mr. Z? The resentment that many women, late 20s, 30 something years old, 40 something years old, the resentment that many of them feel, the anger that many of them feel, go back to being children, go back to them being children and feeling undesired by boys. I want you to understand these are grown adult women resentful about who didn't find them desirable when we were all children. Train tracks. Y'all know geography, so I'm slow on the train tracks. Yes. But yeah. So so I'm sorry about that, y'all. You know, when you have a sports car, sometimes, hey, you have to be disciplined when you have a sports car. You have to be disciplined because, well, especially if it's turbo, it'd be begging you. So back to the topic at hand. Let's be serious. Um, these are people that are resentful as children. I mean, excuse me, they're resentful as adults because of what occurred when they were children, them feeling undesirable when they were children. Now, these people speak about it in different ways, right? Um, you have Chrissy speaking about colorism. You have Yanni, um, who's now celibate. Good on her, good for her. Um, who is now advocating for her subscribers to get the most ballerific dude they possibly can touch. Um, you have Kim from Port Harriet, who is telling women on Valentine's Day they all they got. No one can love women the way women do. No one can love black women the way black women do. And she doesn't mean that in any type of sexual meaning, but still, you have Khadijah advocating for like the ending of the patriarchy, which by the way, Kim does also, but Khadijah takes it a step further and speaks about this like non-binary stuff and how desirability is a trap and how it should be, how you should love people's spirit and all this other stuff, which, pause and let me another moment of seriousness, right? Like let's be even more serious than we're being right now. You know, you often hear this from people who some would deem unattractive or who feel unattractive, right? Just maybe we should put less stock in looks. And it's understandable why someone would say that, right? Especially if you may not be seen as attractive by most, or if you feel unattractive, right? It's understandable why someone in that situation would say, maybe we should put less stock on others' physical appearance, on their shape. Um, but no, yeah, no, that's just not how human beings work. And we have been dealing with people being attracted to people's shells in different ways for millennia. We've been speaking about the beauty of women and men for millennia. Can that change in the future? Yes. Um, as we become, some type of hybrid of human and some type of, artificial technology, will that change drastically? Possibly. But as of right now, yeah, no. Or somebody is saying I sound choppy. Yeah, that's because I'm driving a Z. Okay, I'm gonna sound choppy maybe for the next 15 or 20 minutes until I get to my destination and I can turn the car off. My apologies for the background noise, and yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles, and that is why I try not to record in the car. Well, in the Z at least when I'm driving it. Um, so yeah, so the effects part, right? So the title is you know childhood rejection and its effects. Its effects are that these people still continue on with their lives and they, go to school and they, you know, become academically accomplished and we like that. That's a good thing. And then they hide all their resentment, anger, and their childhood trauma behind that degree and some 4 and 5 syllable words and some um, overly complicated concepts. They hide it behind feminist theory. They hide it behind a large vocabulary. They hide it behind non-binary language, right? That is what many hide it behind. They hide it behind female empowerment or supposedly advocating for women, right? That is what a lot of this comes out to. When really it is, I'm still waging a war against the 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year old boys. I gotta stress that. Children that didn't find me attractive when I was a child and they were a child. Right? That's what's important that we say here. I think I saw BGS say Miami Vice Wireless. No, BGS, I'm driving the Z, and so loud background and sound deadening from the '80s, early '90s. So yeah, it's gonna be about at least the next 15 or so minutes. Y'all give me y'all bear with me a little bit on that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that, y'all. So like yeah, that's why I tend to not record when I'm driving this car because yeah, because of how loud it is and because you guys will barely be able to hear me and yeah. And I like zoning out and just driving and listening to music, so I apologize for that. But I kind of wanted to get my thoughts out early this morning. So my apologies. Okay, continuing. Um, yeah, so that is what makes these people what I would argue dangerous. Even for the ones that don't necessarily have malice in their heart in that way, even if they're not thinking about it consciously, like, oh, I'm gonna get those men back. I'm gonna get those boys back, right? Um, and even if you really listen to some women speak this word preference and the animosity that comes out, and you listen to some of their stories, you know that this couldn't be an adult story. The No adult is walking up to another adult and tapping them on the shoulder. By the way, you know you're ugly, right? You know you're undesirable, right? Ew, I would never. Ew, not no, not her. No adult is doing that, right? So it's important that we stress that a lot of these people are speaking about something that happened to them when they were children. They're speaking about not being desired when they were children, and they go about very interesting ways in trying to remedy that, right? And try to remedy that situation. I think that's something to have a conversation about because this has to be fixed. We have to fix adults and their childhood trauma and how that reverberates in society, right? Now, being resentful about not being desired when you were a child is not exclusive to black women. That's not exclusive to black women. That's not exclusive to the black community. What is an issue is that in the black community, we take what these people say and we run with it, right? We take what they say at face value. We think that much of what they say is because men aren't stepping up, men aren't being the type of men that we could be. When really much of the problem is that these people are still resentful about who wasn't attracted to them or them being seen as awkward or being seen as nerdy when they were children. As Kim said, I was nerdy and there was nerdy guys and they weren't checking for essentially they weren't checking for me. They were chasing after the white boys. I mean, excuse me, the white girls. So the nerdy boys, the nerdy black boys were chasing after the white girls. And here you are, Miss Kim Foster, with your channel, a voice for women, for black women, and you're still that little resentful teenager. Khadija is still that resentful teenager. Yanni is still that resentful teenager. Chrissy is still that resentful teenager, right? All of these people are still that resentful teenager. Some of them are a little bit more aggressive than others, right? Some of the Integra just pulled up to me. I saw him break his neck when I was passing him earlier, right? Yeah. So yeah. Resentful teenager. These people are resentful, and like I was saying, they they show that resentment in different ways. And it's funny. As for cars, I gotta make a car. I gotta say something about the car thing. I drive on this road home every day, just about every day. And I pass this Integra in my daily every day because my daily is a very unassuming, extra boring car, right? But I drove the Z last night, and so I'm driving it back home this morning, and he breaks his neck. He pulls up next to me. He gives me the thumbs up. The beauty of like driving a '90s sports car, right? Like, just, yeah. But anyway, okay, back to the topic at hand. Serious again. Um, you know, these people become accomplished. They're not. They become accomplished, and that fuel is what they use to say the things they're saying negatively about black men, about, and it really is the black boys, right? And I want to say this to all of those ladies, particularly Khadijah. We can't socialize beauty. We can't socialize beauty. I'm sorry. And I'm saying that as a person who fashions themselves as a democratic socialist. We can't socialize beauty. We can't make the young boys find you attractive when you're a kid. Now, can we raise them to not be mean to people they don't find attractive? Yes, we can do that. Can we raise them to not bully the women? The girls, excuse me, the girls, let me say that one more time. The girls, because we're children, remember. Can we raise the boys to not be mean to the girls they don't find attractive? Yes. But can we raise them to not to treat you exactly how they treat the girls they find attractive? No, we can't. And what a lot of this comes down to is I want to be treated, even if I don't find you attractive. That's the kicker. Even if I don't find you attractive, I want you to treat me like you treat the woman that, or the girl, once again, the girl, one more time, the girl that you find attractive. Because remember, this is when we're children. That's what makes Mr. Z so furious. Is we've been hearing these people talk ad nauseum for years and decades, right? For years and decades, we've been hearing these people talk. And that's why Mr. Z says the internet will expose us. It's really that we're going to expose ourselves on the internet, right? And give me a second, yo. So you know, it really is that these people are exposing themselves. The more we let them talk, just let them talk. I really want to stress that to everyone. Let them talk. Mr. Z and maybe a couple of other brothers, we'll shift them out, and we'll figure out which one of them is really means what they're saying, which one doesn't, what's animating them or fueling them in their rhetoric. But let them talk, because they're showing you, they're exposing themselves day by day that really they're just, they never grew up. Yeah, they pay their bills. Yes, they're responsible, right? Yes, they're tax-paying citizens, but emotionally, they're children. They have arrested developments of their emotions, of what it felt. They still are harping on what it felt like to not be desirable as children by other children, by the way. And it's important that we stress that I'm using the words I'm using specifically this morning. We are talking about adult women who put out these think pieces in these video essays, all the way from the divestors and swirlers, all the way to the, truly um, advocates for black women and really want to see black women win and claim they want to see black men win, right? Claim they're about the black community. And eventually, what comes out is you're just still that little girl, that 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, 17, 18-year-old girl who's still going home crying in your pillow because the jock likes the light-skinned chick at your high school or your middle school. Let me say that again. Or your middle school. These people are educated. At least online, they have hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of subscribers and viewers. They advocate for black women in various ways. Once again, everything from swirling and divesting to the non-binary talk, right? The intersectional feminist talk, right? Different varying ranges of I am woman, hear me roar, to being damsel in distress and leaning into your femininity. But what fuels all of that, the origin of all of this, is some childhood trauma from being rejected, and oftentimes not even overtly rejected. You just weren't spoken, you just weren't sought after in high school. You just weren't sought after in middle school. Particularly by the boys, let me say that again one more time. Boys, one more time, because I want to stress that we're talking about children. Boys in middle school and high school that you wanted. You weren't sought after by the boys that you wanted when you were a child. Let's say that again one more time. Boys, because they're children. You're an adult, still harping on who didn't want you and who ignored you or who wouldn't talk to you when you were a child. And I know many of you think that's not what's fueling you, that's what's fueling you. And every once in a while, you'll slip up and say it. Every once in a while, you will slip up and imply it. Every once in a while, you will slip up and suggest it. That what's fueling you in your origin story is feeling undesired as a child by other children, boys, not men, not because you're a grown adult woman. No, you are a child. That boy is a child. God forbid you feel also still undesired by the young men that you feel that you desire as a person in your early 20s. And it's all jihad on boys and men, particularly in the black community. Right? These people are dangerous, y'all. They're dangerous because they can't even come to terms with the fact that what's fueling them is the feeling of childhood rejection. Right? Okay, hopefully you guys will be able to hear me better now. I was able to turn off the car and my background should have gotten a whole lot better, right? And Dr. Trade 33 says, give Mr. Z all his likes, y'all. Yes, please, and thank you. Right? And I'm sorry. Hopefully, I hope you guys can hear me better now. But let's go over what my intro, right? So we're gonna pretty much start from new right here. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on your way in. And on this video, we will be speaking about childhood rejection trauma, right? And its effects. And people that go on with their lives and they become accomplished or they're doing their own thing and they're living their lives, and much of what fuels them in their rhetoric is a feeling of childhood trauma. And that childhood trauma comes from not being desired by the boys, because remember, we're speaking about children, by the boys that these people thought or felt they deserved as children. And this then continues oftentimes as these people are young adults, and then now they wage a jihad on the opposite sex. But because I'm a black man and I'm part of the black manosphere, today we will be speaking about black women who are still stuck in this emotional state. I call it arrested development of emotions, right? Or emotional arrested development. These adult women, once again, in their late 20s, in their 30s, or even in their early 40s, because we're mainly talking about millennials here. I'm speaking about millennials, but I may bring in an X or two as an example. These people, these women, are still heartbroken, or are still mad, or are still resentful about boys, children, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and 18-year-olds who didn't find them attractive back when we were all in middle school or in high school. Right? This is important that we stress this. I will give the example of the young lady that was that kind of chills with Herbert. For those of you that know Herbert, the brother, he comes in and out of the Black Manosphere occasionally. He was on a stream, and the young lady was speaking to BGS, and I think she's an Xer, but like I said, I'm gonna be bringing in Xers as a Generation Xers as an example also. And she said, "Well, this all started when I was 15." Now, for those of you that remember, BGS played that clip, and in the comments of that clip is Mr. Z saying, "I told you so, BGS." Right? And I'm not saying BGS ever doubted me, but a lot of this starts with childhood trauma. Kim Foster, speaking about going to prom with a white boy, right? When she was in high school, because the black boys, particularly the black nerds, who she thought she should have had some kinship with, were chasing after the white girls. There go Kim Foster. Real Talk with Yanni was telling you when she was 16, you know who needed a hug? 16-year-old me. You know who needed this? 16. Once again, childhood trauma, right? Oh, Stefco telling you about um not being seen or being overlooked as a child by white boys and black boys, by the way. Once again, childhood trauma, right? Then we have um Khadijah telling you how, as a child, I think middle school, high school, maybe even early, elementary, how she was bullied for her darker skin, right? Bullied for maybe being a little, a little hefty, a little bit overweight, but also not the bullying part. That's a serious situation, right? But also she tells you about not feeling desired as a child. Very important that we say that. It's not just the bullying, it's also not feeling pretty, not being validated as a child, right? This is a serious issue because I would argue we have a lot of notable, powerful, influential black women all across America that what fuels them, the resentment that they feel towards black men, comes from the resentment they felt towards black boys as children. And these people get into positions in our society and then they exact their revenge against black men because these black men, when they were children, black boys, they either ignored these girls, they didn't see them as any type of romantic partner. Remember, we're speaking about children, y'all. Children. They ignored these girls. Remember, I didn't say women, girls. They didn't speak to them in that certain way, or even worse, they acknowledged them. They were cordial with them, but there was a certain energy for the girls that these boys found attractive, right? Much of what these commentators on social media, these video essayists, all of these people that give their critique of the environment, much of them are just bitter, angry adult women who are still resentful about the boys that were not checking for them, that were not looking at them, that were not speaking to them, that were not flirting with them when we were all children in middle school and high school. As Mr. Z said, the internet will expose us all. No, in actuality, we will expose ourselves on the internet. That's why Mr. Z is about letting these people talk. Let them talk. Let them talk and let them talk some more. And they will expose themselves and they will expose what's truly fueling them. They speak about woman empowerment. They speak about female empowerment. They speak about feminism. They speak about intersectionality. They speak about non binary. They speak about the patriarchy. Meanwhile, remember, they speak negatively about the patriarchy, but more and more evidence comes out more and more that shows that actually you're not against patriarchy. You want to be part of the white patriarchy. Whoops. All of this anti patriarchal talk, feminism talk, non binary talk comes from women who feel undesirable or not desired by the men that they think they should be desired by. But the origin, once again, the origin story of this comes from when we were children. You are a hurt little girl in a woman's body. Yes, you may have a large vocabulary. Yes, you may be educated. Yes, you may have some status in the society, some influence. Dare I say it, maybe even a smidge of power. And still inside of you is some shivering, scared, resentful, bitter 15-year-old, 16-year-old. Because the jock or even the nerd did not approach you and try to date you and try to flirt with you when you were a child. And that boy, let's say that one more time, that boy, because he's a child, that boy was a child. We got 34, 35, 40, 41, 42-year olds. I'm mainly focusing on a certain age group, really millennials. Gen Z are too young. If you still feel a certain way about how you were overlooked when you're 24 years old, you still feel a way about how you felt when you were 17, I'll give you a pass. But by the time you're 28, you need to have that wrapped up. That's a decade. Why are you still harping on this? But if you're 35 years old, 40 years old, 42 years old, still resentful, resentful is not strong enough of a word, angry, seething about the fact that you're not treated the way your cute friend was in high school. We tell young men, if you don't have anything good to say, we tell young people, that's not even just a young man thing. We tell young people, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. And what we're finding is even when those boys, once again, boys, one more time, boys do that, it doesn't mitigate anything. The girls still end up feeling just as resentful and angry as they would have if the boy tapped them on the shoulder and say, "Move out the way, you ugly duckling. I'm trying to talk to your cute friend behind you." The way the girls are speaking is as if these boys tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Move your ugly ass out the way so I could get to the pretty chick behind you. So I could get to the pretty girl, because remember, we're children, so I could speak to the pretty girl behind you." These boys living their teenage lives, because remember, they're children, in attempting to chat up or date or speak to or flirt with the girls they find attractive in high school, the girls who are not children, because remember, we're children, become adults and still feel a certain way about that. And before we speculated it, we knew, but we weren't certain. But now they got the internet to talk, and every once in a while they'll slip up and say it. They'll slip up and say it. So let me get this right. You got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. You making buku money on YouTube. You flaming and going in on black men every chance you get. You're hiding that behind being the voice for black women, or black women need to open their options, and et cetera, et cetera. And much of what fuels you is childhood trauma from not being desired by boys, by children. You're an adult grown woman. You pay bills. You're a taxpayer. You can tie your own shoes and wipe your own ass. And yet, as an adult woman, you're still resentful about not getting pretty girl treatment as a child. And so some of you advocate for black women to divest and swirl and open up their options, while some of you say, let's stop leaning in and all this extra not feminist, feminine talk, right? Maybe we shouldn't be falling in love with each other's shell. And that sounds nice. It's a good thought, something to aspire to, but that's not who human beings are, nor have we ever been. Let me say that again. We might have been attracted to different things that were considered beautiful, different aspects of our bodies, but no, there's no time in human history where the shell didn't matter, where we played down the shell, the appearance, the look. Show me the cultures where the look didn't matter throughout human history. We got millennia of human history. Show me when someone's physique didn't matter, that we didn't acknowledge someone's beauty and their beauty meant some type of influence or power. Where and when? Show me them, right? So it's important that we stress this. These are children, everyone. We're speaking about people that are adults that are still resentful about not being desired when they were children. What did Oprah say? When she was a kid, she wished she was a white girl. We live in a white supremacist society, anti-black society. Every time they do the doll test, we always show that the black children, along with other children, find the white doll to be the most pretty and the nicest and the most demure and et cetera, et cetera. So there is some socialization in there, granted. And with that, boys not finding one type of girl attractive over another type of girl means that for the rest of his life, he got to hear from that girl when she becomes a woman. For the rest of his life, he has to hear from a woman, from women, from black women about his air quotes preference. For the rest of his life in other black men's life. We have to be dogged, demeaned, belittled, insulted, be told how much greater other men are and how they protect their women. Meanwhile, they have trains in Japan for women. They have carts on trains in Japan specifically for women because the men were groping them. Whoops. Protection, right? Okay. Meanwhile, you turn down the wrong Indian dude in India and see if your face don't start melting. Acid. Huh? Right? And these people use these different cultures as examples of men doing right by their women because of some boy that didn't find her attractive 10, 15, 20 plus years ago, right? Some man that when he was a boy, a child who didn't find her attractive, once again 10 and 15 and 20 plus years ago, right? You have people like Yanni who will say, I was chubby or I look like this and now I look like that. Now I look like, now I got, I'm put together. I look nice. And they're still waging a jihad, a war on the type of boys that didn't find them attractive 10 plus years ago. Once again, I got to say this. This is the part of me that's being uh, a bit mean, to be honest. Y'all are little girls in women's bodies. Just because you can enunciate your words and you know how to use 4 and 5 syllable words, just because you pay your bills, you might have a nice little baby luxury car. For some of you content creators, you have your own place, you live on your own. You're an adult. No, you're not. You're a little girl in a woman's body who know how to pay bills. Some of you claim that you took therapy, but yet you're still that 14-year-old who's mad that the boy in high school that she thinks should like her doesn't. God forbid, God forbid that he likes your cute friend. God forbid she's light skinned. Oh, you're on self delete watch, right? And I'll pause right here and let me read this real quick. And D. Scott says, hard to grow when you're told you're good just the way you are. Damn you, Billy Joel. Healed means enough likes on my thirst trap. My thirst trap picture, right, on Instagram. Exactly. Um, on the other side of that process, man, look, it these people claim to be healed. Y'all remember the video Mr. Z reviewed of the white woman talking about, um, you know, we've done the work. We're this, and she was kind of celebrating an article that said, men are lonely, or certain men are feeling lonely and whatnot. And she's talking about we've done the work, we've healed, we're doing, and I'm like, lady, you're snarling at the camera. So many of these women claim they go to therapy or they've done therapy, and I'm like, I can't tell, right? They're healed. They're healed, and they got channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers talking crap about black men all day, but they're healed. You either are not healed, your therapist ain't ish, or you lied to your therapist about a lot, or once again, lying by omission. You didn't tell her they started off with childhood trauma and you not being desired by boys when you were 15 and 16 years old, did you? Right? I had to come to y'all with this today because, you know, I watched a desirability video from Khadijah a couple days ago. And when she spoke about childhood bullying, and she was from what she said, she was SA'd, right? When she was younger, and she played a clip of, is it P Valley High or P no P Valley? It's some television show where some girl is a stripper and some black woman is a stripper and yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a part of the show where this white, and this is important that I stress this, the young lady is being made fun of, or you know, some dude is making fun of her look or something like that. Um, Black guy. So black. Once again, this is where once again this bigger long type of character thing, right? Some black guy is making fun of this pretty chocolate sister, and the white guy steps in and beats up the black guy. The Mindy Kaling effect, right? The Mindy Kaling. We're just gonna call it Mindy Kaling effect, even though it predates Mindy Kaling by forever, right? Women of color who claim that the boys that when they were children didn't find them attractive, and the young men when they were young women didn't find them attractive, and so now they're open They've opened up their options, and somehow magically, it's the white men who find them attractive in great number. Huh, okay. Wait, so you went to a high school full of white dudes, and like one or two of them was I, which you were able to date maybe one or two of them. Those same white boys become men, and all of a sudden they can't keep their hands off of you. But yet the black boys who become black men got to be buried by your insults and you demeaning them and you claiming you want to see them do better or you want to see the best for black women or you being a black women advocate by insulting black men all day, of course, right? Right? These people have to they have to deal with your crap because of who didn't find you attractive when you were a child, right? And I'm gonna pause right here. Y'all give me a second. Yes, y'all. So yeah. Um and Indigo Flow, what's going on, Indigo? Indigo Flow says red table talk, air quotes or quotes, healing, man get GT GTFO GTFOH. Why can I get that out? Right? Red table talk healing. Red table talk quote healing. Man, get that. We'll just say get the hell out of here. We'll say it that way, right? And once again, these are people that are accomplished. They're like, some of these people, and even some of the people we we come around or we're around on a day-to-day basis. These people are, for all intents and purposes, they're adults, right? And Mr. Z is saying adults in quotes. They're adults. They pay their bills. They're taxpayers, right? Some of them are truly, some of them, we do the whole thing about, these ratchets. No, these people are not on government assistance. They're good. They're good, right? Some of them have children, some of them don't, right? And you talk to them long enough, and they start cracking when they speak about men. They really start cracking when they speak about young men when they were younger, and God forbid, high school. Oh, high school, right? High school, and it's there's something to be said about being 35 years old and still being resentful about not being desired when you were 13 over 20 years ago. Knowing the names, remembering the names of the guys that you found attractive when you were 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, who ignored you or didn't pay you attention. It's not, and it wasn't some, benign neglect type of Nixon, right? It wasn't a Nixonian ignoring, right? For those of you that understand benign neglect, I had to go into my political bag for a second. It wasn't malice ignoring you. It's like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. They were pursuing the people that they found attractive. And because of that, black men as a group got to deal with your crap. Whether you couch it once again as, non-binary, more liberal feminism talk, or you couch it as let's go out here and get this bag, divester swirler talk. Either way, the origin story is some black boy who didn't find you attractive as a child. He was a child, you were a child, right? We are 10, 15, 20 plus years removed from that. And we all got to deal with it, deal with you and your malicious, air quotes, critiquing of black men because of childhood activities, childhood sentiments, right? We'll pause right here. And Dr. Thunder says, thank you for the super chat, Dr. Thunder. And Dr. Thunder says, keep talking your ish, bro. Consistently great topics and in-depth analysis of the dysfunction. God bless you. Stay up. Thank you, Dr. Thunder. Thank you. Thank you. Right. And it's just, it's mind-boggling, I want to say this again. There we can't what the question then becomes to these grown women, what do you want us to do with the boys then? Huh? What you want us to do with the boys? Hey, if you find this one girl attractive and she's sitting at a table full of other girls, make sure you compliment all the other girls first and tell them how pretty they are, and then you pull her to the side. Make sure you placate all the other girls first, but the end result is still going to be the end result because we all know who he finds. He's going to still talk to that same child. By the way, white society does this all the time. The whole, we're going to keep on putting these slim, petite white women on the cover, and next to them or in the middle is going to be this more heavy set black woman. And we'll be like, the beauties of 2022, right? The beautiful women of 2022. Or when they're even more malicious, who wore it better? And this is white society jabbing at y'all, and y'all know they are. But you can't say they didn't say, hey, we said the beauties of 2022. We're doing what you say. We're democratizing beauty. Right? And Charles Faulkner says, so let me get this straight. Look at their trauma, so-called, but no one ever talks about the straight-laced black men who was always ignored by black women for hood-style black men in school. Well, they tell us to get over it, Charles. They tell us to get over it. And quite frankly, we don't have the platform, not yet. Well, we got the Black Manosphere, with the loud microphone to pretend like we're talking about, no, we just want to see black women become accountable. But really, what's fueling us is some old high school trauma about the cute cheerleader chick that didn't find us attractive. What would all those men that come into the Black Manosphere talking that stuff, we run them off? Bro, wait a minute. How old are you? You 32. Bro, if you don't let that go. Meanwhile, the women, oh my God, let me say this again. The women, let me say that one more time. The women get to be fueled by childhood trauma and resentment, and then hide it behind a large vocabulary and a college degree and some access that white people granted them, not saying they didn't work hard, that white people granted them because they could smell the anti-black misandry behind you. They could smell it. They could smell the black male misandry behind you. And Charles also says, black men are not worthy of respect, love, healing, or protection from abuse. Yet a pretty slight from, excuse me, not pretty, yet a petty slight from 20 years ago, we need Tier 1 Special Forces unit to to um to average and I think you meant avenge and rescue them, bruh. Hey, children. We're talking about children, everyone. Children. Black men are being buried in insult over the past four-ish, five-ish decades, but especially on the internet over the past two or so decades. And definitely over the past decade, black men have been being buried by these people because of high school, even middle school, but it's cringy to even bring that up. It's cringy to even bring that up because most of us ain't even hit puberty yet. So I'll start it at high school, not because it's not cringy, but because it's less cringy. It's less cringy to bring up grown women who are still being fueled by a resentment they have for who didn't validate their beauty. What boy didn't validate their beauty when you, as a girl, were a girl and when he was a boy, when you were both children? Children. And God, like I said, God forbid, as these people become adults, they still feel that sense of resentment because the young men in college aren't asking them out on dates. And y'all gonna feel more and more of that with this whole Me Too and whole college harassment and street harassment type of campaign. Oh, those young men that might have spoken to you. Oh yeah, and thank you very much, Toya. And Toya says it must suck to mentally still be in high school, but look in the mirror and see aging and regret covered in weave and fake lashes. And we see that by certain behaviors, right? The everyday around the way black woman who you could see her still aspiring to be the cool chick from high school because she never was. The way she laughs, the way she speaks, the way she acts. What y'all think, Mr. Z? What you psychoanalyzing? Yes, right. What are you psychoanalyzing? Yes, 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 Mr. Z is. Yes, Mr. Z is. We're speaking about adults who are resentful about childhood trauma, childhood rejection, right? We're speaking about adults who comport themselves a certain way because they weren't the cool kid in high school, in middle school, right? We need to be honest about what people are living, what's fueling people. And like I said, all the people I mentioned slipped up and pretty much said it. So I'm not putting words in their mouth and I'm not making it up. Kim Foster pretty much said it. Demas got the video on his channel right now. Um, Yanni said it. I covered that, right? Oh, Stefco, she said it, right? These people are saying it. Khadijah said it. They're saying it. Childhood rejection trauma, right? And better uses. I thought there was supposed to be healing and leveling up and such. Why folks still trying to relive high school and college? You know, there's a certain cohort of people. I don't think it's just women who still are trying to aspire to be the cool person in high school. That's not exclusive to black women or black people, right? That exists. And I think these people don't think they're trying to relive high school. The the people I'm really focused on, I don't know if they're trying to relive high school as much as they're still resentful about not being their beauty not being validated, right? It starts off as when we're children. But even as we become adults, people can see, right? Like people can feel, you can feel. And once again, I bring up Ostefko all the time because of the candor, because so many of those young women feel the way she does, but all of them kept on running the Chrissy's channel, right? And Real Talk with Yanni's channel and Paris's channel and all those divester swirler chicks because they think it's gonna be better with non-black men. Like non-black men somehow appreciate a black woman's beauty in a way that a black man doesn't. Because we've been socialized to only aspire to be with the racially ambiguous black woman or the light-skinned black woman or the black woman with exaggerated like surgery like features, right? So it's almost like trying to cheat the system. Like, all right, well, I may not be pretty to black men, but these non-black men, primarily these white men, don't know how we've been socialized in the black community to aspire to lightness. So they'll find me attractive. 5 years later, no ring. 10 years later, still no ring. You've been swirling and divesting for 10 years, you still don't got no ring. So I'm saying all of that to say, I think these people are still being fueled by youthful rejection or just like, and I'm saying rejection even though much of it isn't rejection. It's not overt rejection. It's not the girls approaching the boys and then the boys saying, yeah, I'm not interested. It's the boys living their lives, going to football practice, going to, going to study or going to do whatever and pursuing the girls that they found attractive when they were children. And the girls who were not pursued, or definitely not pursued by the boys that they found attractive, feeling a certain way about that, even as adults, right? Even as adults. And then they feel as if though, as if this is still being recreated, right? And y'all gotta hear the noise again because I gotta start the car, I gotta move the car because we okay, so Mr. Z messed around and brought the key for work with me and I gotta drive a distance to go bring it back and then come back home and then go to sleep. I'm almost wondering if I should just stay in the area. Right. So give me a second and I'm gonna be in a dead zone in a little bit. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's pause for a second. We're gonna do like, well, actually, no, not yet. We're gonna do an intermission in like a minute, right? But I know it's loud. The background's loud. My apologies. Um, my apologies, everyone. My apologies. My apologies. My apologies. Yeah. But we're speaking about childhood trauma right now, and it's important that that's why I made sure to put the word rejection in the title. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. I made sure to put the excuse me. I made sure to put the word rejection in the title because it needed to be stressed that we would not be speaking about um, physical abuse or SA, right? I think could I say the term, right? But I don't want to say it. I don't want the channel to get flagged. But um, we're we're going to be speaking about these people not being in any way abused, but the feeling of being rejected. And I've implied and said this on other channels, but I really wanted to get to the nitty gritty this morning. And yeah, okay. Y'all give me a second. I know I'm hitting a dead zone, so y'all give me a minute. I gotta run inside and get this thing real quick, and I will be back. So y'all talk amongst yourselves for about 2 or so minutes, and Mr. Z will be right back with y'all in a minute. All right, y'all, give me a second.
And I am back. I am back. I'm sorry um for the break. I see Grinch send me what's going on, Grinch. And Grinch, thank you for the super chat. And Grinch says they just needed eight with some deliberate aggressive passion. My solution works on the common cold as well. Ah, you know what? Low key, yes and no. I'm gonna address that in a minute. I'm gonna address that in a minute. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Um, that's funny. And Indigo Flow says, um, Indigo Flow says, I could totally understand if it was bullying, but some boy or boys, whose attention and affection you weren't entitled to, didn't check for you. Exactly. 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 Right. Now let's address what Grinch was saying. Yes and no. Right. So I had a conversation with um, a woman some years ago, but maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And we spoke about that. We spoke about you know, the box, right, and the eating of the box, and and she said something, and I I kink shamed her a little bit. To be honest, I did. Um, because she said something that sounded like one of those white dudes on porn that like be extra aggressive with it, and like it he's he's not getting off on the act as much as he's getting off on the the lower position that it puts the other person in, right? like like you ever see that on a flick? It's like they're getting off on you being in this compromised position. They're not getting off on the feeling or on the act. They're getting off on what they feel is you degrading yourself for them. And when we were I'm not gonna lie, I king shamed her a little bit because I'm like, oh, that's what it is for you. That And so when you say what you're saying, Grinch, which by the way I somewhat agree with, I think that would resolve the issue for some of them. If it's a guy they find attractive that's really into them, and he does that, and he does it like you said with some passion, yeah, right, yes. But then for others, it might actually make them worse because they want people to bow to them now. They're not looking for love and affection. They're looking for people to low key be afraid of them. It's almost like who needs love when I can have fear type thing, right? And that act will it only it I think it will only bring the worst out in them, you know. So yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent, Rich. I agree with you, but I think for certain people, right? For certain people, you know, yeah. So yeah. At the end of the day, I think I came to you guys with this. Thank you for listening in. But I definitely had to come to you guys with this today because it's something I've said or I've implied and suggested, and I I said but lightly, and I wanted to dedicate a video to this topic in particular. I think it does affect us because it fuels so much of why these women sound the way they do. These particular women, and notice these were not all divestors. These were not all card carrying feminists. Some of these they range the gamut in their political views. Some of them are conservative, right? Some of them are liberal, but the one unifying ideology is these black boys in high school weren't checking for me, and so now they have to pay as men, right? Now they have to pay as men. And there's a couple of videos that I want to produce. I'll tell you guys that now. One, it's a channel from a brother. He has a very small channel, even smaller than mine. So he has about maybe 1,100 subscribers, and two of the videos on his channel he dedicates to essentially 50-year-old women complaining about their lives, right? Complain not Excuse me, not complaining about their lives, complaining about their dating prospects or lack thereof, in their intimacy, right? Their intimate lives or lack thereof. Um, and it's sad. I'm not. I know some of the exers in that age range are probably laughing your butt off, right? And it's not, and none of them are black women. There's one very dark skinned woman, but she doesn't look black to me. Um, but none of these are black women because black women were gonna go. They're gonna die with that pride. Like they're not. Yeah, they'll be lonely still. They'll cry to themselves at night. But getting online and admitting how lonely they are in any significant number, yeah, nah, nope. She's going to the grave with that pride. Um, but to me, it's sad. It's sad, and I know, like I said, I know some of the extras are like laughing their butt off. It's like I know those women, they deserve it. I know. But to Mr. Z, it's sad. So I want to do a video about covering those videos, and then and once again, those videos, I'll give y'all time to watch them. I'll put the link in the description before I review it. Um, and then I want to do a video dedicated specifically to to Khadija speaking about desirability, right? And yeah. So on that note, because I gotta jump on the expressway in a minute, and I gotta kind of focus, and I'm dropping the Z, so I gotta really keep my head on a swivel, because drivers in Florida, and yeah, and expressway, yeah, all of that, right? So all of that. Of course, you didn't take the yellow. What a dunce. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, that's funny. That's funny, Emerald. And Emerald says, "Listen to Z right now. He's in the zone." That's funny, right? But okay, so we'll end it right there for now. I'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, so you can have a larger worldview and hopefully not sound like some of these women, some of these ladies who are like 28, 32, 38, 42, and they're still resentful about the boys who weren't checking for them in high school. And none of, I don't know how many of them. Oh, well, Kim actually did say it just like that. Actually, she pretty much said it just like that. But yeah, you know, and I'll yeah, I'll pause right there. Y'all go check out other Manosphere content. I'm pretty sure Dr. Thunder either started up a stream or yep, there you go. Yeah, so and Dr. Thunder said going live, and he's doing an open panel. I'll check it out, Dr. Thunder. I may not be able to speak for a while because I'm going to have to jump on this road, and it's going to be bumper to bumper traffic, South Florida traffic right now. Yeah, so I'll try to jump on. We'll see. But yeah, okay, y'all check out Dr. Thunder's channel. And yeah, I'll end it out right there. But now I have to yell over the car, and yeah, I should be listening to music and driving. Okay, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Mr. Z out.